I spent almost my whole life like president of the I fucking hate running club. Like truly, seriously, full stop. Never, ever, ever thought I would be someone who runs a 5K, yet alone runs a marathon, yet alone has a job as a runner now.
That's Kelly Roberts of the Badass Lady Gang. I'm Cara Duffy, and this is the Powerful Ladies Podcast. Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. It's Wednesday. We have made it into February. We have made it here.
I woke up yesterday at like 6:50 and I was like, oh my God, it's light out. We're almost there. And it gave me like, oh, thank God.
That's the hardest part of winter is like knowing that you need to wake up and it's still dark out. It's just, there's something wrong about it. I really hope we fix that with the getting rid of daylight savings business.
We need to do it. The darkness is so brutal.
It is. Well, I'm really excited to talk to you today. I have been following you for such a long time, and a friend of mine, Carla, is actually in the San Diego chapter. And I just have so many questions, powerful ladies to badass ladies. Like, where did this originate from? How did you be like, I have to create an entire community of badass ladies?
I love that you know Carla because she's such a perfect example of why we exist. The Badass Lady Gang is a by and for women's running community. And we're a very different kind of running community. It's hard to explain to people what we are because the second we kind of say that, we just like see people immediately like go, running is the worst. I hate running. Like, it's just not for me, which I get because I was that, I spent almost my whole life like president of the I fucking hate running club. Like truly, seriously, full stop. Never, ever, ever thought I would be someone who runs a 5K, yet alone runs a marathon, yet alone has a job as a runner now. Like I never was athletic. I really wasn't. I didn't like it. I didn't like the world. I'm really competitive. So I like being competitive, but I didn't like team sports. I didn't like any of that. So for me, like when I was in high school, when I was in middle school, when I was in early college years, the only times I would work out was in a relentless pursuit of weight loss because I have a different body type than a skinny body type. And, those of us who aren't Gen Z, like didn't have the luxury of growing up in a world where we talked about body type, So I was just among the larger body types that were convinced that I just had a problem that needed to be solved. I was unhealthy, right? Like we were only framed as healthy or unhealthy. You either looked like you took care of yourself or you didn't take care of yourself, which we now know is so like could not be further from the truth. Yeah. And I found running because my life fell apart, which I now know that like that's why most adults run because their lives fall apart, which I had no clue. Yeah. Like truly, genuinely thought like I really did think there were three types of runners, like very, very serious marathoners and people who have been running forever, people on weight loss journeys who only did it because they were losing weight, or turkey trotters, like people who ran once a year because the very serious marathoner in their life like made them. Yeah. I genuinely thought that was it. And once I was in a place where I was like just desperate enough to start running, I loved how it made me feel because I was in this period of my life where I was using exercise as a way to kind of avoid feelings. When I was in college, my younger brother passed away, and I was very lucky to be in a theater community. I was getting an undergraduate degree in theater. So I was able to use both theater and working out as a way to not deal with my grief. I could just overload myself, throw myself into characters, or throw myself into going to the gym twice a day. And then every time my head hit the pillow, like I didn't have time to think about how much pain I was in or like how worried I felt about ever feeling happy again, like how guilty I felt. I could just go to sleep, which was such a relief. But when I graduated college, I lost both those things. I lost my free gym and I lost my school structure. I lost my theater community. I lost it all. And I kind of was looking at this future of like, oh God, now what? So I like moved home and I didn't even try to pursue a life in the arts. I just panicked. And I started having a hard time going to school, or not school, to going to the gym twice a day. It got it got harder and harder to motivate myself to work out like a fiend. And so I started feeling again. And I was kind of in like not kind of, I know I was in like a manic episode. I hadn't slept in a couple of days. I was really in a bad place. And it was Thanksgiving, the gym was closed. And I was kind of like, if I want to move, running is probably it. And I tried to run multiple times in my life. I always thought that would be the thing that made me skinny. And walking was always the thing that stopped me. I didn't know that runners walked. I had no clue. I had no clue that everybody walked. I thought running was you run, you Forrest Gump it, you run and run and run and run and run until you get back home. And every time I needed to walk, like that was kind of the thing that made me feel like a failure and embarrassed. So I would just turn around and go home. But this day, like I was genuinely scared what would happen if I got back in bed. So I was like, I just need to keep going. So I would walk and I would run and I would walk and I'd run. And like 2 months later, I ran a half marathon. And then 5 months later, I ran a marathon. And my life changed. Like it just, well, one, at that time in my life, like I very much like filled one vice with another and was like, running is the thing that makes me not have to deal with my feelings. Like I love it. And then it became the thing that kind of helped me get the courage to like get back into therapy and start doing work around like body image issues and my grief and finance trauma, like all these other things. It weirdly like gave me space to think and process with the help of professionals. Like running is not therapy. Running is a tool in, a bigger thing. And I like, that marathon gave me courage to move to New York. And I started like 4 months after I moved to New York, I went viral in 2014 for taking selfies with quote unquote hot guys behind me while I ran a half marathon. And like, that's why I started a blog. And then from there, it was just storytelling. Through storytelling, I found that like, of course, I'm not alone, in this struggle runner, unlikely runner, working out to try to fit, what we think health looks like. And it's just like this natural progression. It's been a very long time. It was not an overnight thing. I've been doing this 9 years now, but like people like Carla, these really beautiful, strong, incredible community leaders who wanted to create community were in the gang. And so like we were able to create chapters of Badass Lady Gang and create group runs that are very different. Like you don't go to a group run of Badass Lady Gang and like, we're not running a 5K, we're not running a 10K. You're going to stay together. And like, we always say there's like walking gang, talking gang, and then like running gang. And like, you get to do all three at every workout. So we do things very differently, but it's hard to explain to people because we all have these like preconceived notions of what running is. And it's not that.
It's so funny how something as innocent as running is so decisive. Like it really does either make people super excited or be like, it's like a spreadsheet. People either love a spreadsheet or they will run away from the spreadsheet.
I will run away from a spreadsheet. I am that person. It's this great analogy. Yes.
Yeah. And Carla's one of those people who I've never seen not smiling and like not beaming, smiling. I actually ran a the SoCal Ragnar with her as part of like a 12 set. And I think I'm really happy that things like the Ragnar races are coming up and like showing that running is a group sport and that it can be silly and ridiculous. And like, I do not have a runner's body type at all. Like, even at whatever weight people think I'm supposed to be at, I never look like I should run a marathon. Like, and it's clear and evident in like the lack of sports bras that work for me to run. So it's so interesting to see like who is running and how many people are embracing it, ages, different demographics. It just makes me happy that we can play again versus make it professional or nothing.
Totally. Because that's what it was. It was like, if you're not really good at it, if you don't know what you're doing, like there's no space for you. That's kind of what we all thought. If you're a before version of yourself or all these weird tropes that we've kind of been sold by diet culture and the running industry too. Like I've been in the running industry now for 9 years, not just like a runner, but like in the industry. And like, I remember what it was like 9 years ago. It was not what it's like today. And we still have a very, very long way to go. But like the role that fat phobia and anti-fatness has played in the industry, like just this idea of a runner's body is something like we talk about in the sense that like we slap a Band-Aid on like, if you run, you're a runner. But like people don't dig into why do we feel this way, or like why do we
Mm-hmm.
believe these things, or why do we believe that everyone Forrest Gumps it? Like why do people not know
Yeah.
that people walk, and why don't people know that like you don't need to run a marathon? Like there's a reason a
Mm-hmm.
very small percentage of people run marathons, and yet like that's this weird central
Yep.
spoke, which is like, what? Why are we creating our brand around the thing that no one does?
It's wild. I spent a long time in the footwear and apparel industry for sports, right? I was at Puma, Reebok, like Saucony. So like the running space, core running to me is so much like core skateboarding, also where I've hung out in work. And I don't understand why like the core center of the target of the demographic for that whole space, why it becomes so exclusive. Like, are you running
Totally.
sub 3 hours? Are you wearing all this stuff? Do you have the thing? Do you have the like? And you're like, wait, what? Like, this all started because it was accessible. Like, you need a pair of shoes or a pair of shoes and a skateboard, and you can do this sport. So, like, when did it become, shh, like, don't tell them where we're going? Eh, I don't understand that piece of it.
Neither do I. And I have done like a fair amount of consulting work with brands too. And
Hmm.
I've been having the same conversation with them. And I see their decks. Like I've seen
Yep.
so many of like the big giant multi-billion-dollar companies of them like talking about like their, post-mortem of the last couple of years and like where they're going and projections and stuff like that. And I'm like, you get it. Like I'm looking at you talk about the fact that the
Yeah.
everyday person who's never going to run a race is your core
Hmm.
person, and the fact that like this portion of the running world spends all of the money, but
Hmm.
yet everything markets to the fast person or the person who's it just doesn't make any sense. And I just sit there and I'm like, I don't get it. Like
Hmm.
I think a piece of it is cool, right? Like it's very cool to see the people who are like breaking records, and it's very cool to
Hmm.
see what am I capable of? But then it walks that fine line. And I'm not even going to say it walks that fine line. They see the fine line and they like run over to the other side.
Yep.
And then every once in a while, they'll like throw photos of the communities up, but then they won't stick up for them, because like
Hmm.
if you were to go to your everyday community, if you were to go to your local crew, which everyone
Hmm.
has one, most of them are
Yep.
really underground and they're very like different and cool. And I don't mean underground in a way that's like, ooh, cool kids, but like more just like
The secret.
they're just, yeah, busy people who like
Mhm.
aren't screaming from the rooftops. They like meeting once a week is enough.
Yeah.
They look like everyone. They look like you and me. They've got
Hmm.
fat people. They've got skinny people. They've got everyone in between. They've got old people. They've got young people.
Hmm.
And every once in a while, you'll see them, and like the brands won't stick up for the fat runners that they're trying to like tokenize. All the fat
Hmm.
phobia will come out in the comments, and like they won't say anything. And it's like,
Yep.
why are we like this?
Hmm. Well, I think it's an area where the yoga community has actually done a much better job. They're much faster at this, like sponsoring what would be considered like a fat yoga person or what, like all different body types, all different genders. They're all being sponsored and represented and seen. Peloton's now doing it too. Like when they just released their new kind of coaching segment, you're like, oh, these don't look like a regular Peloton coach anymore. So I do think it's really interesting because even looking at the Jordan brand does not make money off of basketball players. They make their money off of people who sit on a couch all day and wear Jordans. So I understand like wanting to like tell the story, like the just do it has to be everywhere. Like when I was at Reebok, they were pitching a campaign called Run Easy and it didn't work. And I think it didn't. I saw it and I'm like, ooh, they're this close and they're not getting the core point because they wanted to embrace, this is back in 2007. They wanted to embrace like everyone runs. Like this is how long they've known this, if not before. And they launched this Run Easy campaign, but it was in the face of like Under Armour just spiking and all of this like really aggro athletic approach in the space. And they even had some t-shirts that were like, run at the speed of talk or chat, which I was like, that's a great message. But they didn't connect it to that. They didn't make that bridge that I think Badass Lady Gang has of this is fun and this is okay. It was like, here's a running program for the losers. It's like how it looked versus here's a running
Oh,
program for reality.
Yeah, and it becomes this like I totally know what you're saying because we've watched they've gotten so much better at it.
Mm-hmm.
We won't see that anymore. They've finally figured it out, but I think they figured it out because all of those campaigns are now rooted in real people. Like
Mm-hmm.
they find the real people who are doing the work, the badass lady gangs of the world,
Yes.
or the Black Men Run, all of
Mm-hmm.
those
Mm-hmm.
different organizations and people out there. And they say, look, this person doesn't look like dumb. This person looks badass. Look at them doing the
Yeah.
thing. And you're able to be like, oh, okay. I see that person. I see that person. I see that person. I see that person. And now I'm hearing their story about how they work 2 jobs and also find time
Mm-hmm.
to like run half marathons and like connect with these. Like, you're like, okay, I get it. But like, I'm totally with you. Like, I've seen so many where I'm like, like, what is this garbage? And now we're kind of in the space where we're like, great, we see the messaging, love it. But
Mm-hmm.
like, you do know that you support like no runners with your clothing, right? Like,
Mm.
great,
It's
let's have that conversation.
I, I really I'm going to put this out there right now for whoever wants my feedback. Being someone who is from a product background, no one is getting sports bras right. No one is getting women's shorts right. Please come call me. Those are the 2 areas in particular that make me insane. Like, why do I need to run in duct tapes and full leggings? Those are my only options.
I can't tell you how many times I've thought of like how boob tape became a thing in the last couple of
Yes.
years. Like women are now like for like going out, they're like taping their boobs, and I'm like genius. And I'm like, I'm already taping because like I'm taping
Yeah.
seams so that I
Yeah.
don't chafe. I wouldn't say I'm taping up, but I'm like, one can't afford to tape as much as they are. Like that tape's expensive.
Yeah.
But also, and I'm also like, environment, like, oh, why can't we just figure out a good bra? But I'm also so curious, like, do I just like, is that the answer? Is to like tape? Because you're so right. Like, and what I've come to learn, because sports bras have been like my bread and butter for a while now. I started this
Mhm.
social media movement called the Sports Bra Squad a couple years ago. And as we have like every year launched Sports Bra Squad Day, which happens in July, like we've learned so much more about sports bras and like the
Mhm.
industry and why we haven't seen or have seen, I don't want to say any innovation because we have seen innovation, but like why it's so slow and why the sizing is so exclusive and awful. It's like women don't know their body shapes. That's the biggest piece of the puzzle.
And they change so much. Like
Yeah.
it's there isn't we can't have small, medium, large, extra large, double X. Like that's not it. There's
No.
so much variety. Like it's just there's a great poster, right, of like just like all different shapes boobs can be. And then you take all those shapes and you put them on all different sizes and all different heights and like usually like it's like okay, the cup size fits, but now I need to like take the straps to a tailor and shorten them 2 inches because apparently my shoulder to boob ratio is shorter than other people. I don't
Yes.
know.
Yes.
Or why am I being poked under the armpit now? Like, why is there something way back here? Like, who did a blind person or someone with their eyes closed make this and never actually put it on a human? Or never, I mean, we used to do it all the time for cost and time savings. You fit it on like 2 people, you don't fit all of them. And then the grading comes out and you're like, that's not what that was supposed to look like.
There's this fabulous woman, Laura Tempesta. She has this website, Bravolution. She's like
Ooh.
one of the few people in the world who like genuinely knows sports bras in and out. She was at Nike when she went and got this like master's program in both like I think it's like lingerie and I don't want to say it was physics, but it might have been physics, right?
There's a
Because like
lot of
that's
physics involved.
yeah. So she left Nike a couple years later, but like now she kind of like works with everyone. So
Mhm.
she's now like the one person who knows about it and can work with everybody. But it's like she's doing so much education work about helping people like shoulder, like the way your shoulders are is like
Yeah.
the biggest thing everyone should know, which like, I don't know about you, but like no one ever told me that once in my
Mm-mm.
whole entire life. And even when I was looking at like the educational resources she has out, I was like, I don't know what does this. And it wasn't until like she walked me through it that I was like, why is she the only one talking
Mhm.
about this? And like helping people understand what do you enjoy? Do you like compression or do you like more encapsulation? And like, what does that mean? And do you need an H-back or do you need a cross back? And like all this stuff. But like, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. Like that no one teaches us about boobs. No one teaches us about our cycles or perimenopause or postmenopause. Like all of these things that we have to deal with as women. It's just like, already it's frustrating, but then you add all this other shit and you're just like, I kind of just want to grab a flamethrower and burn it all down.
Yeah. It makes me think about, there was a book I read a long time ago about dogs and how it was the first anthropologist who had studied dogs, because we were like, oh, we know dogs, we don't have to study them. And I think that's how people have treated boobs. Like, we know them, we don't have to study them, we got it. And you're like, what do you got? Like, how many have you actually seen in your own life? Like, okay, you're not qualified. Like, no.
And it's so frustrating.
Well, and I think a part people miss also with the sports bra space is in the physics, how people's boobs move differently when they're running. Like the fact that it's not like it can be up and down, it can be swirl side to side. Like there's different things based on where the weight distribution is in your own boobs. So it's not even like, keep them up. Like that's not even what we know we need.
I did a commercial last year, like last November, and the stylists were wonderful. They were so sweet, but like weren't runners and like they're fashion stylists.
Yeah.
And I'm in a space now where like I've been doing this long enough that like I'm pretty outspoken about things. And I now know like not to sit in silence. And before the shoot, like I sent them an email and I'm like, hey, these are the 3 sports bras I will wear. Like, this is it. These are the only 3 that will work for me. Like, I promise you, I've tried every single one. I have them all in my house. And I got on set and like those 3 were not there. And so I had to wear like 2 sports bras. And like a lot of the comments on the videos, besides being really fat phobic, were like, get her a supportive sports bra. And it's like,
yeah, there are moments when I'm running and I feel like I need to apologize for the community I'm running past because it's obnoxious. Like I understand it's borderline offensive what's happening while I'm running at the same time. So like, sorry, like I can't control it. The sports bra is not working. Or have you ever had a sports bra break on you mid-run? That's my favorite.
I have never had that, but I wear like pretty industrial strength bras. Like it would be hard for one of them to break on me. I've had leggings rip on me.
It's just so many fun things to look forward to. Let alone the fact that you can't breathe and you have a cramp and you still have 20 miles to go.
Right. I remember years and years and years ago, I was signed with a brand and then they let me go. And I was running in their bras, which were like 6 months old, right? Like, and I didn't realize I was chafing. I think I was running like a 15-mile training run, getting ready for a marathon. And I'm running through New York City, 15 miles through New York City. And New York City, the running scene is so close. So like, I probably saw 30 people I knew, like just out running in the morning on a Saturday. And everyone's like, hey. And everyone's faces were of surprise, but like, I don't know. I'm an Instagram person. Sometimes people are genuinely surprised to see me. And so I just like kind of copied up to that. And when I had called my cousin who lived on the route to be like, can you bring me like a Gatorade outside? I don't want to run into a store. And I run out and he was like, and I was like, what? And he's like, what's wrong? Are you okay? And I looked down and my whole shirt was covered in blood. I was wearing a white shirt and it literally looked like I was shot. And I was like, and it wasn't until I like put my camera down to film because I was vlogging at the time. And you could see it on my face, like the pure horror. And I was like, how many people saw me like this? That I was out, which of course, like that's what I'm most worried about is like, how many people saw me like this? But more importantly, like then I started to feel it. And I posted about it online. And the owner of the company, a woman, by the way, had the gall to like rip me a new one in an email and be like, you need to replace your sports bras every year. And like, this isn't on us and all this, like, just like a nasty, mean email. And I remember being like, are you out of your fucking mind? Who can afford to replace 4 $75 sports bras every year? If your bra isn't going to hold up longer than 2 or 3 years, no, like I understand the spandex is going to wear out a little bit. Right. But that's why you buy a size so that your clasping as it stretches out can get tighter. Like if you're buying a
Mm-hmm.
bra that you're immediately putting on the smallest clasp, like you're in the wrong size.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be putting it on the longest so that it stands the test of time. Also, don't dry your sports bras. Make sure you're hang drying them. They'll last longer. But like I just remember feeling so frustrated because they were like feminism and like girl power, like this whole brand. And then she like ripped me a new one, even though her fucking sports bra made me bleed as
And
badly as I did.
this is where my business coach brain turns on and I go, what a missed opportunity for customer service and creating fans, right? Like to send you a note and do it publicly, like, oh my gosh, we're so sorry. Here's a new set. We sent you some. This is, and like you could have used it as an education moment in your content, like, ah.
It put such a bad taste in my mouth. And it just made me, it
Mhm.
bums me out that like so many of us buy these like really subpar
Yeah.
products and just deal with it because there's not better.
And it's too overwhelming to figure out what better would be. Like, and we've talked about this a couple of times with different guests on this podcast about depending on what category they're in, like organic food or clean living or something. Like, we have to do so much research today to figure out anything that's within our zone of values. And so when we were like, oh my God, like a sports bra, like I think I've had buy new sports bras on my to-do list probably for 6 months. And I'm just like, I don't even know where to go because my go-to source doesn't work anymore. And now I need to like, I'm like, how can I delegate this to someone? So now I know I can just
Me, I'll
delegate
help
to you.
I can help you right now. What's your favorite type of sports bra?
I like
Encapsulation or compression?
compression.
So compression, for those who don't know, compression, think like tight against your chest. Encapsulation is like more of a cup. And like the cups
Mhm.
normally like either will have an underwire or not. So you like compression. So what's your
Mhm.
bra size?
Usually like a 34 double D.
Okay, great. Have you ever tried the Lululemon Energy? No, Energy? Lululemon. Oh, it might be the Energy. The one that I'm thinking of, I can't remember it off the top of my
Mhm.
head right now. But it has like two straps in the back and they are adjustable and then they
Okay.
crisscross. That's a
Ooh.
really good bra. And then I
Okay.
would really try, do you mind a crossback?
No. Mm-mm.
I would really try the Under Armour high support sports
Okay.
bra.
Okay.
That one is
Perfect.
actually probably going to be so much better for you because the foam that they use is pretty good and it's not that expensive.
Yeah. Well, and I used to do the encapsulated ones, and those are the ones that actually have broken on me because they had like zippers and literally
Oh, yeah,
running,
yeah,
and like
yeah.
the zippers just all split, and I'm like, well, guess I'll walk home.
Did you try the Lululemon air support bra while it was out?
I've actually never tried any Lululemon sports bras. The only
Oh,
Lululemon product I own is a backpack, and it was a gift to me. So I'm like 1% of the female population.
the thing about Lululemon is their sale is fantastic online.
Mhm.
So like if you can find their sports bras for really, really cheap. But I would try the Under Armour one, or I would just like
Mhm.
ask your girlfriends, anyone who might be your size, see if they have that bra so you can try it on.
Perfect. Well, I will. There's a Lululemon very close to my house, so I just need to take my ass down there, and that will be what I do on Saturday.
Oh my God, you can't catch me in a store like if my life depended on it. Like I will spend $1,000 online and then return 99% of it to try it on at
I
home.
know it's so true, and at the
I'm
same
the
time, I'm like,
problem.
okay, you're why we're not getting free shipping anymore.
Yeah, I am like ruining the world and we're not getting free shipping. I know I'm the problem.
When you look at what you've created, what has both surprised you and what has made you the most proud?
What's most surprised me is how few of us there are in the running
Mhm.
space. You know, like how few like because we're a community, of course, but then we also have training resources. You know, we have teams,
Mhm.
we have experiences and stuff like that. And we do it very differently. We come
Mhm.
at it very much from you're probably not going to do this all. You're going to probably do 50, 60, 70% of what's prescribed. So we
Mhm.
need to make sure that we're setting you up in a way that even though you'll go into a race under a little bit undertrained, which is totally fine, you feel confident about that. And you're also
Yeah.
not going to like break yourself trying to catch up, right? Like there's no catching up. There's just
Mhm.
be where you are. We come at it from that perspective, but then also the mental game, how few like I'm really lucky that, you know, I had sports psychologists advise all the mental stuff that we did and learning from them. So like so much of what we do is really rooted in that sort of stuff, really understanding thoughts and not just running around being like positive thoughts. Just think positive. We're more like, I don't really care about positive or negative. I just want to know if it's accurate. You know, like what are you saying to yourself in moments? Like we need to get curious about that. We can't reframe things unless we know what you're saying to yourself. The fact that no one's doing that work is weird to me when like that seems to be the only way, you know? So
Yeah.
there's so many running coaches and I don't want to say they're all terrible because I'm sure they're all lovely, but like when we think about what we want out of stuff, none of us are going to the Olympics. None of us are going to win the race.
Yeah.
We're out there because we're chasing our own personal stuff. So like the fact that so many people aren't really zeroing in on that stuff and supporting runners where they are is weird to me. It freaks me out a little how many runners come to me and I see the work that they were doing and I'm like, you should not be running that much. Like that's insane. No wonder you feel like you're doing everything wrong. It's like, you're not a 9-minute miler. I don't know why you're being treated like you can go run 6 miles in 60 minutes. Like it's going to take you 90 minutes. Like who has time to do 2 hours of a workout like 4 days a week?
Yeah.
I don't. And running's my job.
Right.
So it's weird.
No, I really am glad that you said that because I feel like the biggest battle, even in my line of work of the business coaching side of things, is people are like, there's all these things we should do. Here's all these downloads. There's all these guides. And you're like, it doesn't matter if it's not the one for you. Please stop adding all this stuff I should be doing to your plate. Cause then you're like, why am I overwhelmed? I'm like, I don't know. Cause you're doing 80% of things you shouldn't do.
It's wild. Like how, well, it's not wild because so there's this organization, which I don't want to rag on them, but like everyone who becomes a running coach kind of like goes through the same avenue. And I learned nothing in that 2-day course, like genuinely learned nothing.
Yeah.
But like, I remember like seeing all of it and being like, I wouldn't do it that way. I wouldn't do it that way. I definitely wouldn't do it that way. Like it very much felt like if you were training a very fast runner, like a lot of that would apply. But most people are not fast. They're definitely 10+ minute milers. The vast majority of people, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 minute milers. And no one really teaches people how to help those people, everyone, which is wild. It's like, it would be like taking a class on how to like raise a cat and then getting a tiger. And you're like, I just don't understand. I tried the catnip. And it's like, well, they're not the same thing.
Please include that into future merchandise graphics. I really want to see. It's and the thing is, like, if people really want to be a faster runner, you have to start wherever you are, which might be 15-minute miles. Like, you have to do it first before you can get better. Like,
yeah.
Why is our culture so
like this?
Rough on everybody? Oh my gosh.
Well, I feel like also social media is the biggest blessing and also the biggest curse. You know, like it's such a blessing because when you think about something like running, like you don't know anything about running. Why would you? If you didn't run in high school or college, like your frame of reference is probably nothing, you know? So where are you going to learn about this sport? Like not magazines, not like, yeah, you can go to books, but who's going to be like, I'm going to read 4 books to learn about the running. No, like we just don't know anything. Like we don't know the verbiage. We don't know the vocabulary. So like social media or blogs is where a lot of people like get their information. Obviously, yes, online publications as well. But like when you're starting to see these influencers in your feed and like, I did this, I had a platform immediately and I knew nothing. I knew nothing about running. And I tried really hard to keep all my content less about like how to and more about like, we call it evergreen, which means like it's just like lasting and lasting and lasting. I tried to just make funnier content, like relatable content, because I didn't know what I was talking about. But I did give advice, and I look back on it, and I'm like, yikes, yikes! I didn't know what I was talking about. Like I was a women's running magazine contributor. I knew nothing, absolutely nothing. And it's like I'll see these videos now where people be like, things to tell new runners, and I'm like, oh no. Oh, that's okay. Like, but it's also like, there's no such thing as one new runner. Like everybody has a
Mm-mm.
different background with athleticism. If you come from a pretty athletic background, you're going to take to it probably a lot quicker than
Mhm.
someone who doesn't have an athletic background. If you're a slower runner, your experience is going to be very different than someone who's running 8-minute miles or 7-minute
Yeah.
miles or 9-minute miles. So it's like I watch some of this stuff and I'm just like, oh, everyone's on their own journey.
Bless you, bless you, bless you.
I'm
Yeah.
just going to stay over here and just like stay in my lane.
Well, and one of my pieces of advice for people making stuff also is that for my own experience, people are really great at sharing steps like 5 to 10, but no one shares steps -5 through 4. And like I always joke about my hair as an example. I'm like, no, start at the beginning because it's something's not happening correctly. So like what am I doing wrong? Like, am I putting on shampoo incorrectly? Like that might be the first step. Do I not actually know how to wash my hair? And my hairdresser's a friend laughs at me and she's like, okay, hold on. Let me just tell you what I do from the beginning. I'm like, thank you. Why are we not doing this? Like, you could be tying your shoe wrong. You could be wearing the wrong size shoes. You could have the wrong shoe for you. And that's just one piece of equipment. Like, there's so many things that need to be like nuanced, especially when you're entering a space that makes you really uncomfortable. And I'm glad that the running world has you. Thank you.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. It's a weird world. Like I often, for the longest time, I would joke that I felt like I was in purgatory because I don't want to say I hate the running world because I don't, but like I really don't enjoy it. Like
Yeah.
I don't enjoy the messaging.
Mhm.
I don't enjoy like what everybody has decided we're doing. Like I really I don't subscribe to it. I'm not a member,
Mhm.
like I just I threw a party next door because I'm like running world adjacent. I
Yeah.
want to be on the block, but like I don't like the party. So like I threw my own, you
Mhm.
can so it's just tough. It's just a
Yeah.
weird world. Still very inclusive. It's still very like I don't know. It's
I think what you're
exhausting, but it
feeling
is.
is called what it means to be a true trailblazer. Like it's lonely and you question yourself sometimes and you're like, "Wait, am I going the wrong way and everyone else is going the right way?" But you know deep down that you're on the right path. Like and that's why I think you need a community. You're like, "Hey guys, I need support as much as you do. Come hang out over here, please. Come to my party."
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's exactly it's exactly it. Like it was lonely for the longest time. And
Mhm.
I tried all the things, I did the running fast and I did the be a serious runner and I kind of like it really hurt me like mentally, physically. Working with brands was really hard. Like that
Yeah.
really took a number on my like sense of self and worth. And I still like have to check in all the time and be like, chill. They
Yeah.
don't care about you. They're never going to care about you. Like it has nothing to do with you. Just
Mhm.
keep doing your thing.
Yeah. We see you.
Yes.
I see you all the time on Instagram. I'm like high-fiving all the way through. So
Thanks.
keep going.
I like post and I get off. Like I can't spend time on Instagram. I can't. It's the worst thing for my mental health.
It's I've started doing I hosted a workshop in New York and I was so sad that like you like booked your podcast recording like the day I got back. I'm like, we could have hung out. No. But I'll be
Oh
back soon.
man. I would
But
love
there's
to
a
hang.
Oh yeah, me too. So you'll know when I'm back in town. And but there's a PR person, this amazing woman on this panel I was hosting, and she talked about having this like secret Instagram account, which I know people did, but I didn't realize how strategically she was using it. She's like, I have a secret account where I follow all the people I have to follow for business research and to know what's going on. And then I deleted everyone out of mine. So I never need to see any of the stuff that makes me sad on a regular basis. And I was like, why am I not doing that?
I have the
Why?
reverse of that. I have one for my like family and I
Mhm.
post really dumb photos on it. Like things like no one would care to see. And like that brings me joy, but like I don't spend time on it. Like I post it and then I post whatever
Mhm.
I want to post and I get off. TikTok I love. TikTok I genuinely love because I don't follow anyone. Like it just shows
Yeah.
me things that it knows I like. Although it's starting to get a little bit runny again and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I'm not interacting with that content. Stop showing me that. I want to see dog videos and Disneyland videos and shark videos and pool cleaning videos, all the weird things.
I was so funny when you sit next to other people and realize how your TikTok is so different than theirs.
So
Like,
different.
it's so wild. My brother's like, "Do you only get dog videos?" I'm like, "Apparently."
Are you on
Apparently.
TikTok?
Mm-hmm.
What's your algorithm?
Like, what am I getting in my feed? I'm getting definitely animal videos, like babies doing funny things, people having like physical injury in the comedy space, where like trip falls stuff. I'm not getting weird stuff. Like my sister gets really weird, like semi uncomfortable things in her feed. I'm like, what are you liking? That they're like, she's down with this. But yeah, mine is very like, I probably have the same TikTok as like a 10-year-old girl, probably based on what's showing up. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's very PG-13. It's Disney approved. Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
TikTok. They're like, I can see them changing and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
don't
Though
do that.
I'm really curious if all of it's true about like what information they're getting about us, because I want to see that data. Like I want to know what psychological things they're finding out about humanity through TikTok. I'm very curious.
We have a friend who does documentaries, and this is like 3 people removed. So this is very telephone. So take this with a grain of salt. This is not like straight from the horse's mouth. This was like my family told me this, and I'm telling you. So they were doing a documentary on TikTok, and they said your front facing camera watches your face and it registers movement. So whether you like don't like something or like something, or like it's registering what's happening with your face.
So I know that we have, like, I have on my laptop the little slider, so I can always cover my laptop camera. How do I get that from my phone? Because that is creepy.
Right? So
It already
I don't know.
hears us talking. So
Allegedly. I'm not saying that's how it works. I have no clue, but that's what I've heard, and it makes sense because I don't like anything.
Yeah, so strange. If we go back to 8-year-old you, speaking of being a 10-year-old girl, we go back to 8-year-old you. Would she have expected that this is your life?
I think 8-year-old me would have. I think 8-year-old me was still young enough that like the world was my oyster and I could do anything. Like I think 8-year-old me would probably be bummed that I'm not like a killer whale trainer at SeaWorld. I think that's what she really thought was going to be her life. But I do think like I think she would be like, yeah, that checks out.
Mm-hmm. When I get a lot of questions about calling this podcast and this community Powerful Ladies. And for me, it was actually a really hard choice because most of my life I've had male mentors and been friends with more guys than girls. Like it was a new space for me to step into, having majority women in my life, which I fully embrace. But I always go back and forth about like, oh, I love the name. I love having this tribe. And this is also why I sneak in like random guys into the podcast guest list. Because I'm like, fuck it. They don't care what that's called. I want to talk to them. They're adding value to the community. Do you struggle with calling it the Badass Lady Gang? When people ask you, how do you respond? Like, can we hang out? Like, how do you approach that?
I struggle with it only in the sense that like I do believe gender is a construct, I genuinely like, not to diminish the patriarchy. I do firmly believe in the patriarchy and see the systems in place. But like when I look at who, like, one, we would never turn anyone away. We've had guys come, we've had theys come, and we've been nothing but like, oh my gosh, we're so glad you're here. So I do think speaking of the patriarchy, I do think the space shifts. Working out with only women is oddly different. The dynamic changes a lot, which like surprises you and doesn't, right? Like, of course it doesn't surprise you because like the patriarchy, but it does surprise you because we're so often in spaces where we're like hypervigilant or like not ourselves fully. We're not truly belonging to the space. We're totally changing bits and pieces of who we are. That like that is a little jarring for people at first to be like, whoa, I just feel so different. Like that's so weird. I guess I've just never been put in a position where I had to think about it. or I've never noticed it. Badass Lady Gang, like the name itself started because the running industry would never call us badass. Ever. Ever, 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 ever. Lady, because like, come on. Like
Yeah.
we could be we're the furthest thing from lady. You know, like I took etiquette classes, like LOL, not us. You know, and then gang because it did feel a little bit like so often for us, like running is scary, you know, whether I just had an athlete yesterday who like someone like grabbed her ass when she was on a run. Like violence against women is a very real thing. It's so much worse for women of color. Gang because like no one would be afraid of us, you know, like we are the people who live in fear, you know, like your whole life you're taught don't get raped. That's your experience as a woman. And it like I didn't think much of it because it kind of just like felt funny at first, but like the more I think about the name, the more I feel like it roots me further, you know, because it makes me mad. Like it makes me mad that like not the lady part, that part I don't mind, but like the fact that like people wouldn't call us badass, we kind of have to like throw a bird up at them. And then the fact that women spend so much of their lives fighting for anything, but then also like just fighting for space to move safely. And again, so much worse for women of color and so much worse for the LGBTQ plus community.
Yeah.
It just sucks.
Well, the safety part is a big deal because especially if the longer the run is, the further from home you're going to be.
Yeah.
And the more time you're going to need. And especially in the wintertime, you're like, cool, I can run at lunchtime. And then I can't run because I'm not going to run in the dark. I'm not going to run in the woods by myself. I'm not going to we have all these, I have a whole list of where I wouldn't run on my own and when.
Yeah.
And then I have like guy friends, we done like the 75 hard challenge together. And they're like, oh yeah, I got my run in at 11 o'clock at night. And I'm like, what? That's horseshit. The only workout I can do at 11 o'clock is in my living room.
Yeah.
And it's a part of the running experience that I think is maybe even talked about less than the demographical variety of who runs.
Yeah, totally.
I had a friend mugged running in New York City 20 or 15 years ago. So like that's going to shift how you feel about running real fast.
It's hard, you know, like when I started the Sports Bra Squad, there's this term, it's called self-objectification. It's where you think about what other people think about you, right? It takes you out of your experience and you just like, look at yourself from the outside in. And it is not often, it's always bad. Like it always makes you feel like shit. But like, not only is it like that element of it, but it's the safety element of it where you're thinking like, are you going to do something? Are you going to do something? Are you going to do something? And when I started the Sports Bra Squad, I never could just enjoy a run. I was always hyper vigilant, just like constantly self-objectifying myself or looking around thinking like, are you going to do something because I'm a fat athlete running in a sports bra? You know, and like people have said stuff. No one's ever touched me. But like people have done weird things and made me feel not safe. It's just weird. It's weird how little autonomy we have over our bodies as women of color, or as people of, you know, the LGBTQ plus community. It's just weird. The power over structure is so gross and scary.
And for people who don't know what the sports bra run is, it's literally all the women are running in sports bras, which is such an empowerment opportunity because most women would never dare.
Yeah.
No matter what size they are to go and run in only a sports bra. On top, they are wearing shorts or pants.
I could not do that. The bleeding alone from the chafing would really hurt. Yeah, it started as that. And then it like really became like, okay, how do we give women the tools they need to move towards body image resilience or body image neutrality, like where they're resilient in that, like, you know, that you're going to have good and bad body image days. Like that's everyone. You can't get away from that. But how can we get to a place where you're neutral about it? It's not good or bad. It's just, it is what it is. You're just in your
Mm-hmm.
body. The focus isn't about looking, it's about feeling in your body. It's about what can you do in your body. And like, you can't just get there. Like, you can't just run. Like, that won't just happen. Like, if you don't have the
Mm-hmm.
tools that you need to get to that place, it's a pipe dream. So it's come a long way, which is very cool. And we still have a long way to go. But
Yeah.
it just sucks, the things that we have to deal with on any given day.
Yeah. A friend of mine does a body appreciation kind of yoga meditation class.
Ooh,
And
lovely.
at the end, like you go through this meditation where you say thank you to like it goes through a series of body parts. Inevitably, people are crying through this exercise because there's a part of your body you don't thank on a regular basis and you kind of don't want to thank it because you're mad at it for some reason. And it's such a enlightening, and like it does open a can of worms sometimes, but it's a really powerful exercise to be able to say thank you for this and thank you for that, and hey legs, thank you for, because we're so mean to ourselves and yet we have so many capabilities. So it's, yeah, I feel you. I feel this battle. When you
Oh,
hear the words powerful ladies separately and then next to each other, do they change when they're on their own, powerful and ladies versus combined?
no, only because I've always been surrounded by ladies. So, like, when I think of one, I think of all, like,
Mm-hmm.
even though when you're on your own, like, I always think of like the millions of people who have my back. I mean, not millions, to be so lucky. The people who always are there to like hold me up or prop me up or just like, put a hand on me. So I also like to acknowledge my privilege. I grew up in a very matriarchal driven family
Mm-hmm.
where I had a lot of really, really strong and powerful women like owning businesses. Like, my grandmother went back just to undergrad when my mom was in undergrad. Like, she finished her undergrad and then she went to law school, and then she like became a politician like in her 40s. So I've watched women in like all her life. She talked about how she hated housework, how she hated being domestic, how she hated, like, she didn't feel like it was enough, which, like, not to diminish if that's your life, that's just my
Mm-hmm.
grandmother's life. And for me, like, I've always watched women have men say yes, like, go for it. I've been really lucky. And then when I got out in the world, I was like, oh, that's not how everyone lives. Like, that's interesting. So I think I am very much a product of my upbringing and the people I saw around me, all the badass moms who like kept
Mm-hmm.
everything going. So like, powerful ladies is all I knew.
Yeah. We asked everyone on the podcast where they put themselves in the powerful lady scale. If 0 is average everyday human and 10 is the most powerful lady you can imagine, where would you put yourself on that scale today and on an average day?
I would say I'm like always a firm 8 or 9. Even when I'm not doing well, like, I'm doing well at something.
Yeah.
Like, why not?
Mhm.
Life's too short to be a 5.
We've also been asking everyone who's on this podcast, what do you need? What are you wishing for? How can we help? This is a big community. We have lots of resources. And I'm a firm believer that we never know who has like the next key that you're looking for. So what can we put out there? What do you need? What do you want? How can we help you?
We need more leaders. If anyone is
Mhm.
interested in bringing badass leading to your city and a really great grassroots leader, like, tell them about it, right? Like, we need that. We need more women getting together, right? Like, you don't need to be
Mhm.
organized functions. Like, just find these online spaces and say who's around. How can we make a Google sheet with all of our names and email addresses and phone numbers and like, let's walk and go to brunch, right? Like,
Yeah.
we need that. For me, like, we need funding. We want to make our
Mhm.
own app, and like, that's our next year. That's our next
Mhm.
step, is figuring all of that out. So we're like early stages of that, but like,
Mhm.
it's exciting. What we need isn't out there. And I'm like, I'm not going to wait around. Like, this doesn't make any sense. I keep pitching to brands and they're like, oh, and I'm like, fine, fuck you guys. I'm just going to go do it.
That's where all of my businesses have started. Either
Yeah.
this is frustrating or that sounds awesome, or usually a combination of both.
Yeah.
Mhm. And what about for you? What are you excited about this year? What's on your wish list that we can hold you up for?
I have so much happy stuff going on. I'm like finally in a place where I board a couple times a week, which is really nice.
Whoa, look at you.
I know. I love it. Like I can watch TV twice a week and be like, look at me. Look at me watching television. Like I don't want to glamorize hustle culture, but like I didn't know what I was doing for a vast majority of this. So like I was really like firing on all cylinders and it was really hard. And we have a good thing going and like we're just cruising right now, which is really nice. I think cruising for me is still like I feel like I'm the person in the circus with like the 30 plates and the sticks. You know, for me, like my
I'm relaxing. Look.
Exactly. I like don't want to make it seem like I'm working 9 to 5. Like I'm still very like my therapist would be like, what? But I feel like I'm in a very good place. I'm very happy in my personal life and I feel really grateful for the people who are in my life who are helping me. And I just feel really grateful and lucky.
Amazing. Good, right? That gratitude really makes a difference.
Yeah.
For everyone who wants to support you, follow you, help you find funding, all the things, start their own chapter, where can they find you, follow you, and support you?
Badassladygang.com will lead you to all the things.
Perfect. Well, it's been such a treat to connect with you and meet you over Zoom. I've been a longtime follower, and every time I see one of your stories or posts, it makes life lighter. So thank you for bringing lightness to my day. And I just really want to acknowledge you for the space that you've created. You know, I really feel that loneliness, like, what the hell am I doing? Why did I take this on? Like, the number of days that I wish I didn't name a company Powerful Ladies because then I have to be powerful. I'm like, damn it. I feel that. So knowing that you're there and that we can Care Bear stare energy back and forth to each other, it means a lot. So thank you for holding up that space.
Thank you for having me. This was so great.
All the links to connect with Kelly and the Badass Lady Gang are in our show notes at thepowerfulladies.com. Please subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening and leave us a rating and review. Come join us on Instagram at Powerful Ladies. And if you're looking to connect directly with me, please visit karaduffy.com or Kara_Duffy on Instagram. I'll be back next week with a brand new episode. Until then, I hope you're taking on being powerful in your life. Go be awesome and up to something you love.